thank you all for coming tonight. It's been a very, very long month. We're almost there. 5 more days to go. We'll cross the finish line. Tonight especially, I'm very, very privileged and honored to have an individual with us tonight. He joined us last year in our inaugural Ramadan 10 project, Open Iftar, inviting Muslims and non-Muslims and the homeless. And tonight we have this individual back again. He's someone I highly admire, especially for what he's done this year. I think it's a commendable act and it's amazing. And there's so many words to this guy. I'm just lost for words, to be honest. And Rabbi Natan Levy, that is the name. He is a rabbi, obviously. He is from the Board of Jewish Deputies. I got that wrong, didn't I? Okay, perfect. The Board of Directors of British Jews. No? The Board of Deputies of British Jews. There, we got there in the end. Sorry. It's a tongue twister. I can't do it. So he's the interfaith advisor. And he's actually fasting the month of Ramadan, guys. Round of applause, that is amazing. And like, not 1 day fast or half day fast, he's actually doing the whole month of Ramadan. The whole month. Like from suhoor until iftar time, the whole month, guys. No water, no food, and no one's forced him upon him to do so. He's just done it out of his own goodwill. And we'll know why more about that through his speech. So without further ado, of course, a massive Ramadan 10 welcome to Rabbi Natan Levy, please.
Omar, thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be back after my first time. I'm surprised you even talked me back the second time. I'm not going to talk about fasting in Ramadan because many of you are doing it as well. So it's something that we're all sharing. We're all building bridges. I want to talk about actually a story, and with a little bit of a light touch there, but then it's got a very difficult point as well. The story goes like this. A few years ago, Hurricane Katrina, remember that one? Yeah. So it hit New Orleans, and a friend of mine, another rabbi, had his synagogue right at the edge of the French Quarter. And the synagogue's basement was ruined. He calls his community together afterwards and said to them, friends, I have some very bad news to tell you, followed by some very good news to tell you, followed by some very bad news to tell you. What's the bad news? Friends, I'm sure you know the bad news, says the rabbi. The basement is ruined. It will cost millions of dollars to fix. Bad news. Everyone says, what's the good news? Friends, he says, the good news is that we have the money to fix the basement down to the last penny. We have all the money we need to fix the basement. And a great cheer goes up and all these people. And he said, what's the bad news? And he says, friends, the bad news is that the money to fix the synagogue is in your pocket right now. Now the serious part. Friends, in our community, and far from us in the Middle East, we have some really bad news. I feel almost shaken, shocked even speaking about it in front of this group, but I think at some level we have to, don't we? Just acknowledge that children have killed children. That mothers, I watch on the news, mothers cry every night. Babies are dying. That's bad news. And it's bad news that even when I try my best to fix it, trying to fast in Ramadan, I've got a lot of positive support across the board, but I've also got a lot of negative stuff. I go on Facebook and there's stuff, and I'll read a few of them to you. When I told people I was fasting in Ramadan to build bridges between the gaps in our community, some people wrote this. A lot of good this does, Rabbi, with a lot of exclamation points. It's a media stunt. What a fool. It's not the gap that matters, Rabbi. It's that there are people who want to kill you, whether you fast in Ramadan or not. Or this one. Can you excommunicate a fasting rabbi on Ramadan? Or this one, which I want to read a little bit of. Hey, Pig Levy, you a fraud. That's the bad news. Can we do some good news now? Here's some good news. The good news is that I truly believe that our faith, our religion, speaks to hope always. always says, what can I do? What can I do for hope and peace? My rabbi told me a story once, Chief Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. He said like this, he said, it's 1888, and Alfred Nobel, who invented dynamite, woke up one morning and was surprised to see his own obituary in the paper. Now, it turned out it wasn't his obituary. It happened to be his brother had died, and the journalist had made a mistake and put his obituary in. He read his obituary, and it said, Alfred Nobel has died, and he made a lot of dynamite, and that killed a lot of people, and that's it. He was so shocked by reading this pretty horrific obituary of himself that that very day, he devoted all his money and all his time and set up the Nobel Peace Prize and the chemistry and the rest of it. Because of that. And when you asked him, those who asked him said, why do you do it? He says, because I want the story of my life, my obituary, to say that I tried to make peace, no matter what. I learned this from my friend, a Muslim colleague of mine in Bristol. I said to him, why are you working so hard to make peace in the midst of such horror? He said to me, I'll tell you a story, Natan. There is a hadith, a little bird, the Abi Bel, that lived during the time of Prophet Abraham. Prophet Abraham was thrown into a fire by King Nimrod. And the fire is a huge raging fire. Probably might even know the story, right? And this little bird grabbed in its beak this little bit of water and tried to put out the fire, and the other birds are laughing, right? The other birds are laughing. They're saying, what are you trying to do? There's no way you can put out that fire. And the bird says to them, I'm sure many of you know, the bird said to them, I am sure when God asks me, he won't say, did you put out the fire? He'll say, what did you do when the fire was burning on the Prophet Abraham? What did you do? This will be my answer. And that's the question I've been asking myself. What will I do to put out the fire? What little thing could I do with a small beak? There is good news. There is good news. In Finchley, the Al Rahma Islamic Center was burned down by the EDL nearly 5-6 months ago. Through arson, they attacked it, they burned it down. They had no place to do their iftar event. You know where they went for iftar this year? They went to a synagogue. The synagogue said, come here and do iftar with us. Do iftar in our synagogue. That's really good news. That small change that makes a difference in the midst of the fire that's raging all around us. In the end, my answer to those Facebook people, the poison that I get on Twitter, the negativity we can find all around us, I think comes from a saying by a Hasidic rabbi and teacher. He said, are you worried? He said to this rabbi, he said, you, his name is Rav Zusha, are you worried that people will say to you, how come you weren't like Moses? And Rav Zusha, the rabbi, said, no, I don't worry about that at all. What I worry about is at the end of days, God will say to me, how come you weren't more like Rav Zusha? How come you weren't more yourself? And that's what we ask. That's what all of our faiths are asking. That's what hope asks us. How do we put out the fire? What little things do we do? That's the good news. The bad news we know about. Fires rage between us, around us, out in the world. The fires are raging. That's the bad news. The good news is that there's small seeds of change and hope with us. The bad news is that all this I'm talking about, it means nothing unless you reach into your pocket each and every day and ask yourself, in my obituary, what do I want to see there? When they write the story of my life, how do I want that story to look like? When I saw something wrong in the world, what did I do? Did I go to Facebook and write out an angry letter to somebody? Or did I, like a small bird, like Rav Zusha, say, what can I do? What small piece can I work on? How can I look into the face of other people and ask each and every one of us, and ask myself, what's in my hands to change? And bless you all for Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Natan. Really, really appreciate that. I was speaking to Natan earlier today, and even just now, just a few minutes, and I think the word selfless comes to mind. I think it's quite incredible to fast the whole month of Ramadan and still have this energy, and it's the first time ever. And I think the fact that you've just been very laid back about it, and not really sort of be like, yeah, whatever, it's fine, you know, it's a month-long fast. But I mean, you've in many ways you've reminded me of what Ramadan truly means, and it is about thinking about those who are not in a position where we are bestowed by so many bounties and blessings by God, and reaching out to those in need. And it is a way of, again, like this, and in many parts of this city and in this country and around the globe, being able to have iftar together, having a community together, and discovering that spirit, that community spirit. And in many ways, I just can't sometimes not fathom the idea of how you're going about doing this, and what sort of struggles that you're having at home, for instance. Who's cooking food at 3 in the morning? What does your daughter say, for instance? Your wife says. You can tell us?
This is like a question and answer part of the stop me and who wants to be between talking and eating. So basically, my wife thought I was crazy when I started, but so now she sees it like a great diet opportunity. And my 10-year-old daughter tried to keep Ramadan and went to school the next day and told the teachers she was not eating anything in school. That lasted for a day, and she got really hungry and we fed her chocolate. I have to admit, I don't keep all Ramadan. I don't wake up at 3 in the morning, so I'm more impressed with what to do. And I break for Shabbat, Jewish Sabbath, too. So there is an element of cheating. And for the most part, what I'm most deeply impressed by is actually that being hungry, I think, from my tradition, the Jewish tradition, but also from what I've heard from many in the Muslim community, is that there's a level of empathy that those who don't have, who can't do what we're doing, which is eat and have enough. And what I'm learning from an event like this, and I told you about it for the entire year since I was here last time, where there's an event called the Ramadan tent, where anyone who wishes to come and eat can. May that be a model, a seed for what could happen in all our communities, in synagogues, in churches, that anyone who wishes to come and eat. When it really comes down to it, we share as faith, it comes down to that. Justice, feeding the hungry, taking care of the poor, beyond all the difference. And I think focus on that, that's what I've learned from keeping this Ramadan.
Well, Rabbi Natan will be joining us for iftar, of course, and please, if you have any questions, not all of you, I'm sure you all have questions, but he'll be joining us for iftar, and it is a tremendous honor and privilege. I speak on behalf of the committee, everyone here, the volunteers. We've been talking about this date for several days now, and yeah, we are very much privileged to have you here. Really, really an honourable act you're doing, and it just begs the question: will we fast the Jewish fast as well? So for us actually to think about and build bridges the other way as well, not just a one-way street. So thank you ever so much. A massive round of applause to Rabbi Natan.